Hello, welcome back to the channel, Bridging the Gap Student to Engineer. We're STEM professionals provide advice to students. This video is a school deep dive into what's officially called the Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, but informally known as Virginia Tech. The school provides a lot of really good detailed information, so I will provide the link to the source, and so you can go dig into it. Let's get right into it. So Virginia Tech makes its data available on their career and professional development website. There is a specific page for the undergraduate student outcomes data. This data seems to be NACE compliant, which is good for us because it makes it easier to compare to other schools. What that also means is that they're looking at undergraduate student outcomes 6 months after graduation, and then they have distributed a survey. So it should be pretty accurate as far as we know. So let's just get into the data. I have filtered for the class of 2024, College of Engineering on all programs. What it looks like is we've got just under 60% currently employed, just under 19% continuing their education. I will say this is somewhat low. Typically that's in the 25% range, and sometimes as high as 50%, but seeing under 20 is just a little bit low. And then percent seeking employment is 18. If we look at the past years that they make available, this has fluctuated between 15% and 18% for Virginia Tech. So it's relatively consistent. I will say it's gone down a little bit this year, but just to put those in terms of that makes a little bit more sense is looking at it the flip side. So if you go to Virginia Tech and you graduate with an engineering degree, you have about a 1 in 5 chance that when you graduate, you will still be looking for something for a while after graduation. Not the best, but definitely not a horrible outcome. So if we look at starting salary for the class of 25 College of Engineering, these are really good numbers. The median being 78 and the mean or the average being 82,000. Those are healthy numbers, and makes me think that the graduates from Virginia Tech, when they do get hired, are getting really good jobs. And what I'm going to do as we scroll down is I'm actually going to go to all graduation rates or dates. You can see as we look here that the numbers didn't shift very much on the first destination. But the reason that I wanted to look at all dates is because the top employers are really nice to see over the 4-year period that they show us rather than just the 1 year. But what is consistent in this list of the top 20 is that they are mostly defense and space companies. So you got Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Newport or HII, Newport News, Raytheon. All of these companies are involved in defense and space, and you can see even in their list that we've got a few of them listed twice or 3 times actually, making me think that, you know, a company like Northrop Grumman is probably actually higher up on the list. So if you are interested in aerospace, Virginia Tech might be a really good place for you, because regardless of what your major is, you could very well be hired by a defense and space company. Beyond the defense and space industry, there are a number of different industries listed on here. So Kimley Horn, Whiting Turner, these are construction companies, and ones that have presence, pretty large presence. So construction is always a nice thing to see for me, because I'm have spent most of my career in that. But they're good options for a wide variety of engineering majors to go into construction. And then you'll see Capital One as number 3. You might be wondering why that is. That is a financial company, and they are hiring a lot of engineers. A lot of financial companies have been talking recently about how they're realizing they would like to get more than just finance majors and economic majors. They want a more wide variety of students coming into their ranks. And so if you think about engineering being a place where you learn logic, You learn how to solve problems. You learn how to apply different solutions to different problems. Then looking for engineers to be in a finance company makes a lot of sense. And then I'll just go also to Amazon. Amazon hires new engineering grads mostly to be managers on the line. While they also do Amazon Web Services, and so there's more technical application. But I do know some new grad engineers who have gone to Amazon to be managers on the floor, so that's an option. Probably not one that you thought of when you were going into engineering school, but by the time you get out, you will see that there are a lot more industries and jobs out there than you may have been aware of. So one nice thing about this dashboard, it is very dynamic and you can see a lot of different options in here. If you wanted to go see, for example, where the aerospace engineering majors from Virginia Tech go, just click on here and you'll see exactly where they are hired. And you can also scroll up here and see what the success rates are for that specific major. The next thing on the Virginia Tech dashboard is talking about career related experience. There isn't a whole lot of information on here about exactly what all of these mean. So I'm just going to take it for what I see it as, and then we'll just talk about it. So when we talk about career related experience, typically we talk about internships and co-ops. I will provide a link to our video about interns versus co-ops, and then also a link to our video about should you get an intern or a co-op while you're in school. But just having laid that out, if we just look at the percents here of students who said they had a paid internship or a co-op, and in any combination with other things, that's not really that high of a percentage. If I'm just looking at starting basically here, paid internship, co-op, and then a combination are these smaller things. I am a little bit concerned that a lot of Virginia Tech students have just had maybe just a summer job and not a paid internship and are a co-op. So something to be considerate of, and if you are considering going to Virginia Tech, ask a lot of questions about this. It is extremely important that you get whatever kind of career-related job that you can while you're in school. It will make it significantly harder for you to get a full-time job when you graduate if you do not have that. So I am concerned about Virginia Tech looking really light on experience while you're in school. Now, you should do everything you can to get that kind of experience, the job experience. If you can't, if you can get some research experience, that is also good. But I really like to see resumes where students have worked somewhere in the field, even if it's something that you went and worked there and decided you didn't like, and so then you're looking for something completely different. If you were in a professional environment doing something professional, at least remotely related to your major, you're going to have a much easier time getting a job when you graduate. And then the other thing I want to point out on this is study abroad. It's this teeny little sliver on the top, 1.3%. So if you are someone who really wants to go abroad when you are in college, Virginia Tech is probably not that place. And while you can do it, 1.3% of students in the last 5 years have said they've done that. It doesn't look like that is a big program, and it doesn't look like it's probably going to be easy for you to do that. When we look at colleges, what you want is just as easy of a time getting a job while you're in school, getting a job afterwards, doing things that you want like study abroad. The more other people who are doing the same thing as you, the more support you will have from the school, and the easier time you will have doing all those things. The next section on the Virginia Tech website talks about employment industry. This is where I talked about defense and space earlier. So defense and aerospace, they have divided up. Construction is another big industry. So we've got a lot of different options here, which is to be expected. One thing I don't see, energy is pretty small. So if you wanted to go into oil and gas, for example, Virginia Tech is not going to have a whole lot of companies coming there and recruiting. But if you're really interested in defense and aerospace and construction, you will see that there are going to be a lot of companies recruiting there. And we saw those when we looked at the list of companies above. Employment function, I think, is a little bit less interesting to me, just because if you're graduating with engineering, you're going to be working in engineering. That is really good to see. There's a pretty big chunk in web and software, construction, as we've talked about, consulting, and then it goes down to pretty small percents. So employment locations, we use this really to see if this is these schools are regional schools or national or international. Um, Virginia Tech is a state school, and the percent of students who stay in state is under 50%. That is very low for for a state school. Now, having said that, if you add up, the percent of grads that are going into the surrounding states, it gets a little bit bigger. But some of the smaller state schools have, like, 95% staying in state. So if you are from out of state and you are thinking about going to Virginia Tech, it doesn't mean that you're going to stay there necessarily. Or if you're from Virginia and that's your cheapest option, you can definitely expect to get opportunities outside the state. So if we look at just these higher orange states where there's a little bit more grads going there, one thing I will point out is that California, Washington, and Texas usually feature heavily in most schools. We usually don't see Colorado being a big draw for out-of-state students, so it's nice to see that a lot from Virginia are going there. And then just pretty much the middle eastern seaboard is where a lot of the Virginia Tech students go. But I will tell you that if you go to Virginia Tech, your degree is going to be recognized and your school is going to be recognized wherever you go. All right, so that's all of the information from Virginia Tech. If you have any questions, comments, please like and subscribe, and let us know if there are any other schools you'd like to see. We have a lot on our list from requests, and we're working through them. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one.